We are recording. So, pleasure to meet you. Do you want me to refer to you as Randy or otherwise?
Randy, you can call me shithead if you want. I mean, most people call me Randy. I've been called worse.
Me
most
too.
people call me Randy.
That's funny. I like that. Yeah, I used to joke about that all the time. That's the only thing I don't want to be called is Jeff, because that's what my father goes by and not me. And I'm not a junior. Although I did hear a very compelling song last night by Stephen Wilson Jr. about why it's okay to be called that at this point, but that's a whole other. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But so yeah, pleasure. Welcome to my fun negative impact podcast. Conversation about mental health, art, and how it's helped us get through stuff. Opening up those doorways so that to understand from the artist's perspective, musician, photographer, painter, whatever you want to be, however you express yourself, and make it something that lasts, and how we actually heal from that, how we create a community that then actually helps others grow and foster and heal. So I guess I'd start off by saying if you want to just kind of give a little background for yourself, like this much, because I'm assuming anybody that's going to watch this already knows who you are. But
if they don't, my name is D. Randall Blythe. Most people call me Randy. I am the singer of the Richmond, Virginia-based heavy metal band Lamb of God. I am also a author. Somehow 2-time best-selling author. Still not sure how that happened. Of a memoir called Dark Days and a book of sort of essays called Just Beyond the Light. And I am an internationally exhibited Leica Camera USA Today US Leica Camera USA photographer.
That's
and a piss poor actor who's been in a few horror movies and a TV show.
I mean, piss poor is still an actor, right? So
yeah, I mean, it's hard. I'm not good at it. I thought I would be naturally, and I'm just not. But it's fun.
This weird opportunity to be a background extra for Robert Rodriguez's From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh yeah, love that.
I lived in Austin, and I couldn't go the day he was filming because I had to work my normal job, and he wasn't offering enough money to compensate me to go from my normal job to that.
Right.
But it's 6'3" and tattooed up like a dipshit. He was like, "You're perfect."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Yeah, but you got to pay me to my time." But
well, you would have been in the Vampire Club.
I would have been in the Vampire Club.
Now, what is it in the beginning? Is that Cheech Marin that's in it?
Oh no, but that's the that was the movie. He did a whole television series.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he filmed it in Austin, Texas, and we used Red 7 if you ever played there or wherever there. But we used Red 7 as that. I can't remember what they called Red 7 before that, but it's irrelevant.
Was the TV show any good?
No.
The movie was great. The movie was great.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I guess. So the photography thing, I only loosely knew that you were a photographer, and of course I went diving once you sent that comment on the original, the first podcast teaser that I put up.
Right.
And I was a friend of mine actually had mentioned at one point that you were a photographer, David Grossman. He had mentioned to me that you would do that as well. And I was like, oh, okay. So I years ago had looked into what you do, but didn't realize now you're Leica sponsored, and that's awesome.
Yeah, like a sort of ambassador, Leica is not they don't sponsor people. Really, that's not their thing. I mean, I do get a discount, which is good, and I get to try out what I want. They're very particular, and they have to like your work, which is cool. So it's not like, I could get stuff from connections at Canon or probably Sony. I mean, I'm on a subsidiary of Sony, my band is, but that's sort of influencer clout, and I don't particularly want that. I want, if I'm going to work with a company, I want them to actually like what I do. And they're very particular. People a lot of times have been like, yo, give me the Leica hookup. And I'm like, that's not how it works. Right. They're very German.
Mine has always been, if you can't get it on your own merit, then you're not supposed to have it. So
right. Yeah.
That's a personal like philosophy of mine where,
yeah.
I mean, I've been doing photography for 25 years for bands. I'm going to come out with a book next year at the end of 2026. Is that full pattern for like the last 20, 25 years. And then kind of the stories behind touring. It's going to be having the same title as this podcast. It's actually where the title came from.
Cool.
That and actually an ex-girlfriend helped me name it because she was smart. She was like, well, negatives from photography and the impact that photography and art has on everybody. So negative impact. And I was like, okay, I have to accept that is a way better title than mine.
Yeah.
my original like working title was Concussive Shots. And it's just like a history of photographic violence because all of it was hardcore, metal, punk, all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah. We have a saying in Lamb of God, better is better.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter. And that's a thing with art, you know, in all its forms. If you're in a collaborative art form like I am with the band, that's a thing where it's about learning to shelve the ego and not hold your part of the creation as such a precious thing. You know, if something is better, you know, it doesn't matter who came up with it. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And then you can all share in that, especially as a band.
It's a different thing with writing and photography, really, because I don't really collaborate, as it were, in writing. I do have an editor, you know, and then at some shows, I've had a few exhibits where they've been curated by someone else. And I kind of, I don't always agree with some choices, but a lot of times I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit back and let someone else have an outside voice in this because I'm a little close to this and perhaps they have a better perspective than me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do you ever delve into the, I guess from what I've seen, I've definitely seen atmospheric stuff, landscape portraits, and some street work that you've done, but do you do like your own individual like fine art in the photography realm too?
I mean, that's something that I want to do, really. Some fine art photography, and I've actually been thinking about obtaining a medium format camera in order to do that, because I think I have to really slow down in order to create that stuff. And for me, photography, it's very different than my writing and my music. So with my writing and my music, I'm being extremely subjective. I'm very much wanting to express a viewpoint, my viewpoint, usually to make some sort of cantankerous, bitter point drawn from my dissatisfaction with the current hellscape that is American society. But so I'm very pointed in what I'm doing, and I'm very focused on conveying my point of view through either writing or through the lyrics I write with my band and the delivery of those lyrics. But with photography, when I picked it up, it became a way for me to become a bit more objective, I think, about the world, and to sit back and notice, because I haven't done much studio work. I haven't done a lot of predetermined things. I mean, I'll carry a camera if I know I'm going somewhere cool, and I'll be like, I'll probably get some good shots. But I haven't really sat down and tried to craft a photograph, you know, with a lot of forethought. And that's something that interests me, because I do like fine art photography. Like most of the photography I do, and no photographer is completely objective, you know, because we frame things a certain way, right?
And how we see them, even when it's situational, it's still
Yes, exactly. Like you could have this fantastic event that happened that everybody's like, oh my God, I wish I had a camera to take a picture of this. And suppose everybody did, and everybody was really good photographers. You're going to get, if there's 15 of us, you're going to get 15 different photographs because we're all viewing in this event. We're interfacing with reality itself through our perspective. And that perspective is transferred through the camera lens. That perspective is controlling how we use that camera. So yes, it is subjective. When I say that, for me, it's a bit more objective. It's that for me, photography has primarily been about going out and seeing what beauty the world provides me. Right. So, and that's been really cool. And that's also in my sort of photographic journey. That's one reason why I moved to shoot primarily with Leica M's. They're all prime lenses, manual focus, manual everything. I have to interact with the subject. And,
I had a couple of apprentices and I taught them that. I gave them a 50 millimeter first.
Yes.
And they're like, well, how do I zoom? I'm like, you get your ass.
You move your ass. Yeah.
They're like, well, I'm like, yeah, you have to go closer.
Right. Oh. So 99, I'd say 95, 99 is a stretch, but 90 to 95% of my shots are taken with a Summilux f1.4 fixed lens, a prime, and that shooting with an M and shooting with a prime lens slows my process down, and it makes me choose a little bit more. So in thinking of working with a medium format camera, which I've been thinking a fair amount about recently, and sort of having more forethought, I think, put into the photographs, I think it will slow me down even more.
Yep.
And that is in today's world where everything is just faster. To me, that's a sort of a conscious act of resistance to this ADHD world forced upon us by the screens everywhere, So I'm trying really hard to slow down in general.
So that thing you said, 15 different photographers, etc., resonates because when we started talking through the Instagram, I was about to go into that Saddest Day festival that Converge did.
Yeah, you told me you were going to go shoot.
So
did you tell Nate I said hello?
I did.
Okay.
So, and he looked at me and goes, hello back. And that was, he didn't know me all that well. So for him, he was like,
oh, okay.
Because I actually finally, after 20 something years of photographing Converge, I introduced myself to Jacob this weekend. And
that's an artist.
So, and I mean, as a teenager, he was only a few years older than me. When I first saw them, like in this tiny little box of a room, 242 Main here in Vermont. I don't know if Lamb of God ever played there or Burn the Priest, but
I don't know. I know we've played Vermont before,
and it's usually just higher ground from what I remember. The bigger venue we had, but so the first time I saw them, it's 125 cap venue. I think I was 16, and Jacob was maybe 18, 19, and but I've watched him progress as an artist, as a musician, as painter, graphic designer, everything.
Yeah,
all I could see was like. Back when I was a kid, I used to say, I want to be a revived Renaissance man. And people would be like, what the hell does that mean? I'm like, I want to learn how to do everything. I want to learn how to do everything. And I want to learn how to do it well and intelligently so that I can, in my adulthood, carry that forward and teach other people to do the same thing. Anyway,
right.
So we're there.
I think that there's a lot of value to that. I think a problem with wanting to do everything, which is a big problem of mine, is figuring out exactly how much to focus and to take the time to do one thing at a time, which I have a problem with, because otherwise you become just a dilettante. And for me, when I'm involved in a creative project, I want to be fully immersed in it, you know? So yeah, but I mean, it's I think being a Renaissance man, or revived, I like the way you put it, a revived Renaissance man, is a noble aspiration.
Right. And so we're there, and there's at least 15 photographers all lining the front of the stage because there's no barricade, and then a couple on each side. And I'm thinking to myself that exact thing you said. There are 15 people here. There are going to be 15 different perspectives. And I've watched as this stuff has started to roll out throughout the last couple days as people are editing and posting. And it's an amazing thing to see that many perspectives of this one event, and how much work and energy and also like emotion went into it, you know, like from things like Year of the Knife performing. I didn't know anything about that band going into it.
Right.
And I had said to a friend of mine, you know, I wish they moved around more. And they're like, well, you obviously don't know what happened. And I'm like, no, I have no idea. And about the van accident and everything that occurred, and how she was, I mean, essentially stricken into a coma, and they didn't know if she was going to come back. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, that explains a lot more. And still, I managed to, you know, craft work looking at them. They were incredible live, like an incredible band. It's just,
I haven't seen them.
I was like, wow, you're not moving a whole lot. And it's very stand and deliver. It reminds me of musically, they're like a more pissed off, disembodied. Like, great. Like, I love it. But, you know, I was like, oh, I wish they were moving around more on stage. And then I found that out, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I definitely give them some grace. I still created some incredible images. I loved their performance. And then to me, it held a much more emotional weight when I found that out afterward. Like, wow, I got to see this band, and there was a possibility they never would have created music ever again. And okay, I get it. But that kind of thing leads me to constantly say, all right, this room was created, and like even Jake said, he's like, they created this festival not just to be music. Upstairs, there's live art going on with Thomas Hooper and Jake and Keenan Bouchard, who I grew up with. And then downstairs, you know, there's all this music going on. Upstairs, they have Planned Parenthood of Massachusetts representing to say, you know, like, no bands on our bodies, like the actual political action that we had when we were younger at shows, and all these things. It's almost like a return. I felt like I was back in 2002, even early 1990s, at a show with all these bands, like between Coalesce, HopeCon, and Converge. I'm like, hey, this is a show that could have happened in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But at the same token, now it's evolved, and there's a broad spectrum of, like, from youth to adult, and everybody's there. There's a million stage dives. It was an environment. It wasn't just a concert.
That's rad. Where exactly was it?
It happened at Roadrunner in Boston. I guess the Bowery Presents put it on, and I got to meet them. It was an experience for sure. So that one was a good one. Good. After, you know, 3,500 concerts in my life, it's just like when something resonates like that, because it's actually intended for people to be in a moment, not just like sit on their phones recording the thing the whole time, you know.
Right. Yeah. There was a festival that happened, believe it was this year. I didn't get to go to it because I was on tour. I believe it was called Fire in the Mountain.
They were present there.
It was like, that was on like the Blackfoot Reservation, I think, or whatever.
I have not been to it yet. I would love to go.
Yeah, me too. It seemed really cool. I know, like, I think Ford Runa was there, maybe Chelsea Wolf, or maybe she was.
Steve Von Till apparently did an acoustic set around a fire, so it's like, okay, I would be there for that.
Yeah, but there was a purpose to it. It was a focused purpose to that, and I think that's something that's incredibly necessary in today's world. I think a lot of people are feeling hopeless and overwhelmed right now with all the fucking negativity in the world. And, you know, I'm not a total Luddite. Obviously, you and I are speaking on a computer right now.
Yep.
And technology has its benefits, but more and more the science and frankly common sense is showing us that existing on these phones is leading to a disconnection. And if you are only on your phone and it is pumping bad news at you 24/7, like it's not good for the mental body, the corporal body, anything. It's not healthy. So I think there's an overload. I mean, just look at this last weekend alone, the shooting at Brown, the shooting in Australia. Rob Reiner gets murdered. Our moronic president makes a statement, that this was,
what was his thing? It was Trump.
he said that he had made someone so angry because he suffered from quote unquote Trump derangement syndrome.
Thank you.
And
That's
it's
what
like, it's like, wow, can you get any more narcissistic, you fucking weirdo? So
sadly, he could, but
oh yeah, and there is no bottom.
Again.
There is no bottom. So, and people should not be shocked at this point. But
No.
there's horrible feeling. That's just this weekend, and we are becoming dulled, I think, by all this constant feed of tragedy. And I'm not saying that if you don't look at your phone or don't look at the news or whatever, that these bad things are going to stop happening, right? And I'm not saying you shouldn't stay informed, but we have this 24/7 pipeline, like this blasting at us. And I know it wears on me. I'm a news junkie. I look at it too much. It's wearing on me. So these sort of, I think there's a sort of mass ennui in the populace right now. And I think things like this festival you went to with Converge, where there was art and, Planned Parenthood is standing there, and this fire in the mountains things. I think that we need more of that. And I believe even in the text messages we sent on Instagram, it's like we need community right now. And that's what struck me about the teaser for your podcast, because you were talking about the lack of there hasn't been a significant new art movement.
Correct.
Right? Since what, the 70s, I believe you were saying. And I, in a sense, I tend to view almost everything through music world eyes, right? And I don't know how old you are. I'm 54. How old are you?
43.
Yeah. So, but you remember the time before the internet, before,
absolutely.
When like punk and hardcore music was still truly underground. Like you couldn't just go on the internet and look up what is crust punk or whatever.
Go to a show where somebody had a distro and thumb through records, sight unseen. Like, or you'd buy something just because the cover art, and it's like you would judge the book by its cover, because you had to, because you're like, is this in the vein? Or you'd read liner notes.
Right. Like, for me, it was like this beautiful puzzle that when I first heard this music, and for me it was the Sex Pistols in like 6th or 7th grade, it stirred something with me, and then I sort of was immersed in this beautiful puzzle because I was living in a little tiny redneck town in southeastern Virginia, a paper mill town, and like there was no punk rock there. So it was a sort of years-long process of solving this puzzle. What is this? Who are these people? Where can I find them? And when I finally did found them and met these people, I met community, and and that was in the 80s, and that was like the sort of, I don't know, the last gasp of punk and hardcore being truly underground, because then Nirvana came out, and then all of a sudden the frat boys had their hair dyed blue or whatever, and like it became super commodified, right? And maybe that's a natural process, but me and guys, I have a point to all this. Me and guys my age, and I'm assuming maybe you, because of what you were talking about in that teaser, questioning art. For me, I'm wondering, where is the next punk rock, right? Like, where is that? And I firmly believe it has to come from the youth. I think that I'm an old man. I'm 54 years old. Right. And I am firmly entrenched in this culture since I was 12 or 13 years old. Right. This has been my life. will be how they bury me, probably in my combat boots or whatever, and that's great, but times change, and for me to sit around and bemoan the commercialization of something that I love so much, and the dilution of something, and the changing of it, it's kind of silly. Uh, I think I really want to know where the next one is going to be, and not for myself, right? Because I may be too old to appreciate this, right? It may be beyond my I don't know, frame of reference to understand what would move the new generation to create something utterly new, that's frankly, not to put conditions on them, but I'm going to, that's rooted in dissidence, really, on questioning things. I think that's just a key component. Whatever it is, I want to see it. I want to see the young people do that, and um, I don't want to sound like I'm like pointing fingers or nagging or whatever, but it has to come from young people, I think, because I've already kind of had my time, and I can sit here and certainly, and I have with younger people, younger artists, give advice and tell my experience, but an entirely new thing I don't think is going to come from people of my generation. I think it's got to come from the youth, and I want to see it. I want to be excited about it. You know what I mean?
Myself, I hear you. It's like
And
let's see them change something or destroy something enough that
yes,
it's theirs. It's theirs.
Yes.
There's a really silly line that, like, actually, it's of all people, Marilyn Manson said it, and it's, "There's nothing new to create, only new ways to destroy it."
Right. And
okay, so how?
yes, how? I want to see it, and I worry about the state of for lack of a better term, not just music, art, whatever. We'll just say art in general. I worry about it because I think people have become too dependent on these technological tools um, that are designed to enrich a very small group of people, right? It like, if your form of expression. Do you remember when TikTok was going to get like taken off? Like,
Yeah, I
and
do.
people lost their fucking mind,
What am I gonna do? And all the
right?
influencers, I lost millions,
Yeah,
and I'm like,
yes,
well,
and I'm like, for me, I was like, your entire mode, your business model is in control of some corporation owned by a bazillionaire tech dude. You placed the control for your sole means of expression is in the hands of that. And also just the fact that the manner of expression, and that's why I loved the punk rock scene when I got into it, because it was a self-sustaining ecosystem. We had, our own media, fanzines. We had our own record labels. We had our own promoters. We put on shows wherever, right? It was a self-sustaining ecosystem. People depending on something like TikTok or Instagram or whatever
or Live
to
Nation.
or Live Nation, who are evil as shit.
My head.
Yeah, believe me, I don't get any money from all their fucking fees, right? Like
Spotify or all of these
yeah,
things,
all of these,
all of it.
yeah, they're just taking it, and the average person has no agency in that. So being dependent on these things, I think, is a big mistake, and I'm I'm hoping the new generation will find a way to create something new without being dependent on something that is designed solely to enrich a few people.
It's been an interesting, I guess, commoditization of everything, right? We kind of covered that quickly, but it's every single one of these platforms. They see it as a way to get out there to everybody. I mean, yeah, we had to dig through piles of records back when I booked shows. constantly here in the Burlington area in like up until about 2006, I used MySpace to literally find new bands, and you could book a whole tour on MySpace. It was ridiculous. Yeah. But you could, and you could find all new music through that too. It was a good platform at the time for like artists. But now you have, I mean, there's all those the infrastructures that exist to take money away from the artist.
Right.
That's like, oh, this corporation has helped you be seen by this many people. I did like a weird social experiment one day, and I still kind of conduct it. And I asked people, who do you think has the most streams on Spotify? And I'll ask you that. Who do you think has the most streams?
Well, I would like to say I don't use Spotify and never have.
That's probably good.
And I'm or any streaming streaming platform. I buy vinyls and I buy MP3s through like Apple Music. Not that they're great, but I actually buy them and own them. And my girlfriend recently canceled hers to Spotify and moved to Tidal because, Spotify is the fucking worst. And their former CEO is investing in fucking AI, drone technology, warfare technology. Yep. But if you were to ask me who is the most streamed artist on Spotify, I don't know much about popular culture, but I would have to guess, what's her name? The fucking
T Swift?
Yes. Yeah. Taylor Swift. Yeah.
So most people would say that. And it turns out it's not. And I did like my little research thing, and I went through and I looked for a while. It's The Weeknd.
Oh,
his song Blinding Lights Alone had
Black Canadian dude, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So his song Blinding Lights Alone had 6 billion plays.
Jesus.
6 billion. Now, if you were to take that one song and put it against the entirety of the Beatles catalog that exists on Spotify, and then take every record ever sold by the Beatles and propose that people listen to them 5 times in their life, right? Maybe more, but still, you average it as 5 times in their life. That one song by The Weeknd has more plays than any song in the entirety of the Beatles catalog combined. And the reason being is, you think about it now in our society, although we've connected with the internet, we've also divided, as you say. Like there's all these subdivisions. However, when you have somebody like him, a mixed, like BIPOC individual from Canada, who clearly wasn't very well liked as a child because he's such a nerd and it's really cute. But
I'm not gonna diss, man.
No, not at all. Same here.
I'm a big nerd.
And not only am I a huge nerd, but I'm not so closetedly queer now like I was when I was a kid, because it wasn't cool to be queer and fucking metal. So
right.
As I've grown and seen this man, like his music is beautiful, like he writes it all himself, so good for him. But then what he did was he took a platform that is fucking evil and made it so that now all over the world, people like him in these BIPOC communities, in these marginalized communities, can come together through music and an art form that he created. And now, so you have the Beatles, a bunch of white guys from Great Britain, good for them. And so the mass sum of their musical stuff never reached all of these different communities, and his does. So although Spotify is motherfucking evil because they won't give people money, the exposure rate of somebody like him is now amazing and has grown to this. So how do we do that in marginalized communities on our own? How do we say, okay, how do we go out and pull these people in and say, hey, we want more connectivity through our community by being people again.
Right.
Instead of just saying, okay, well, all of us can see the same thing. And that celebration of likeness instead of division of separation. Because the more you separate a people, the easier it is to control them.
Yes, 100%. So, and the current state of politics here is
that.
And it's binary as fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's A or B. Yeah. That's it.
And if you're a centrist, kind of like me, it's like I want to own guns and fuck whoever I want. Tough,
right? Sure.
Yeah,
sure. You know, and like I do not like extremist of any sort. You know, and that includes left or right. I definitely tend to get called libtard a lot by certain people, and that's fine. I don't care.
Exactly.
But I have some definitely socially liberal viewpoints because it just makes sense to me. But I try not to be pedantic with them because the comedian Mark Maron.
Oh yeah.
His last special, he is so great. He had one line that my girlfriend and I watched and just started laughing out. It said, we have annoyed the country into a state of fascism, like by being the uber left, like being so like this, say, finger pointing and shit. Like we annoyed the country into fascism. I believe that's true. The pendulum swings,
I always make the comparison here in Vermont because, people think of Vermont as very liberal. Well, not where I grew up. It's very close-minded. In fact, I was kicked out of school in 1999 for being the guy that founded the Gay Straight Alliance and then trying to have a diversity week conference post Columbine that made it so that a gay speaker came in to speak to the rest of the students. Well, my assistant principal at the time said he wanted a member of Ex-Gay Ministries, somebody that would belittle, bully, torture, starve children who were queer into not being queer. To come
the conversion therapy people, right?
To come into this high school to speak because he didn't want to see people pushing the homosexual agenda. And I'm just like, wow, this guy sucks. But because what
is the homosexual agenda? I have a lot of gay friends. They've never given me the agenda. I've always wondered.
Personally, I think for me, it's just live my life and be okay with it. I'm not really sure what it is beyond that.
I feel oppressed now talking to you.
I know, right? And so this guy, he ended up getting me removed from high school for this reason, which I thought was hysterical. And they think, Vermont's this great bastion of liberalism. And I'm like, not really. So we have a very far left and a very far right. And like you said, I joke that it's an Ouroboros. They just eat themselves.
Yeah, of course.
Because you have the far left who are like, oh, sex workers, they're being exploited. And you have the far right who are like, sex workers, it's against God. And you're like, well, you guys are the same people.
Yeah, exactly. The one thing, the difference, I think, with the left that the right does better is the left will cannibalize itself. They will fight and argue and nitpick. If we agree on 90% of things, right? Shouldn't we be on the same team? Like if we disagree, and I'm not talking about big morality questions like child rape or something like that, fucked up like that. But if we agree on 90% of things and we talk a little bit different and think a little bit differently, shouldn't we be able to come together, instead of nitpicking? And that's a problem with the left. The right closes ranks, and maybe
it's good at organizing really quickly for some reason.
Yeah. I don't know. All you have to do is make a poster with a flag and a bald eagle and a gun on it and you're good to go or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
But they're much better than the left. So, but yeah, they're two sides of the same coin, at least on the far ends of either spectrum.
Agreed. All right, so then let's lead that into mental health because that's a fun one. Because that is true. That's definitely our current state of affairs. The divisions, all of these things, they're causing mass depression, hysteria, anxiety. I mean, the fact that everybody thinks they're autistic now, maybe they are. Maybe they are. That's not a problem. It's just,
dude, that's a thing. Like the self-diagnosed autism that drives me a little bit nuts.
Every man is a narcissist. Every woman is a victim.
Everything's crazy, dude. I had a mentor who I used to babysit his kid who was autistic, and he wasn't non-verbal autistic like that, but I had to relearn how to communicate with this child when I babysat him. He was very into trains, right? So super into trains. And there was a train movie called Runaway or something like that. Okay. The kid's 8. he could quote the entire movie from top to beginning, including sound effects, act the whole thing out because it was on a train. He had like
That's amazing.
model trains, obsessed with trains. And he's like, let's watch Runaway or let's play with the train. I'm like, okay. And then, he had a younger brother who wasn't autistic and he wanted to go to the park. And I was like, hey, let's go to the park. And the kid's name was Sam, the autistic kid. I'm like, hey Sam, let's your brother wants to go to the park. Let's go to the park, And he just looked at me like I was an idiot. He was just like,
No.
like no words, just like I feel myself shrinking under the gaze of this 8-year-old, just such disdain. And I was like, or maybe we could play with trains. He's like, yeah, that's right. So like that's autism, right? Feeling like weird and slightly different than your peers, that's not autism.
That's just life.
That's just life for a lot of us. I know that the increase in autism has also been like this sort of broadening of the parameters of analysis for what constitutes autism. And I think that's fair too,
But I think maybe we should just adopt the term neurodivergence instead of saying everything is this or this or this.
Yeah.
And it's funny how they it's almost like, and not just youth. I've seen this in my own age group in the 40s too, where they go, it's almost when they have a conversation, it's here's my name, here's my pronouns, here's my rap sheet of maladies,
right.
Embarrassing. And I'm like, oh God, can we just have a conversation?
Yeah, let's just be humans. Let's just be humans. I'm not going to tell you about my immediately my dislocated L4, L5 disc that I'm going to physical therapy for,
Precisely.
I think it's part of the pendulum, dude, because I think I really do. I think that the rise of identity politics where people are so obsessed with one aspect of I am this color, or I am this sex, or I am this sexuality, or whatever. I think it's comes from a very real place of people who are different being ignored and shunned for so long. You know what I mean? And treated badly because they were gay, or because they were, black, or because they had a disability or whatever. And all of that stuff is horrific. So I think this sort of entrenchment in one aspect of one's personality and it becoming what we refer to as identity politics is a reaction to very real negative stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But it's a pendulum. It can go too far. And for me, I'm interested in meeting people in the middle. And that kind of leads to the discussion about mental health. I think, and kind of referring back to the earlier discussion about festivals and so forth. Mm-hmm. I think there is a lot of, in many ways, entirely justified negative emotions running through people these days.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of depressing stuff going on. We've already discussed some of it. Mm-hmm. And you would be inhuman if you didn't feel bad about this stuff. But existing through this sort of digitized representation of what the world actually is leads to more separation, and it leads to a tribalism that I think mostly exists online, because I think when people come together in large groups, and particularly if it's around a particular issue they're passionate about, logical thought tends to disappear. Groupthink settles in, and it's easier to otherize. Yeah, it's easier to make people others, right? You are the other. You are different than us, them. And that's how dehumanization begins. It's a whole lot harder to do that when you're sitting down face to face talking to someone. So
Right.
I believe, like, and I've been saying this for the last few years, I believe that, once again, not that these tools, that these technological tools that we have can't be used for good and they can't be agents of change, but I believe that real positive change is impossible on a group level. Um, like communicating through these tools, all it is really people just screaming at each other.
I mean, that's
You
the
know,
internet.
yeah, that's the internet, and at times that spills over into real life. But
Right.
most of the time, dude, like I meet someone and I can talk to them even if they have a different political viewpoint than mine, unless of course they're like a fucking crazy Nazi or something, in which case I don't,
Which isn't only because for me, being very far away from that perspective, Nazi, but growing up around here, we had a whole group of them that would come to punk and hardcore shows, things like that.
Sure, we did in Virginia Beach too, and that's something that the kids is something. I think that's something that I feel sort of better prepared to deal with. Like people today, they're like white supremacists, blah 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 blah, are marching, and like it's like this crazy. Like, where did these people come from? I'm like, dude, we've been dealing with this since we've been. Yeah, they've always been there, and we've been dealing with this since I was in the scene in the '80s, and like nobody knew it was happening because it was out of view of the populace.
Pocket, the pocket dimensions that are like clubs of broken hardcore or like whatever.
Yeah, and we dealt with it, and
usually self-policed
very much, and it was very ugly at times. I've seen some horrifying things happen, but now it's public. So I mean, unless you're like I'm saying that we went a little sideways there, but unless you're like some sort of fucked up extremist of any sort, I can find common ground with the individual and I can talk to them and because people at their root all want the same thing. For me, I honestly believe they do. Everybody wants to be to have safety. They want to be able to feed their families. They want somewhere decent to spend the night to sleep. They want some security, and it sounds whack, but they want love of some sort,
acknowledgement and like a sense of peace.
Yes. And that only comes through a lot of the times human connection. And so I think people get drawn to these sort of extremist communities or extremist viewpoints because people are like, okay, we believe this. You come with us. You're one of us.
Yeah.
And it's a sort of group they can fit into sort of automatically, I guess. But like that really, it makes people one-dimensional, I think.
It's very like low what am I trying to say here? It's very low standard, almost surface. There's no real depth to that communication, that community that you're in.
Right. So it's like people kind of it's like people, I have friends who've told me, they have vacation buddies, right? They go on vacation together, they have a good time, blah, 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 blah. But when they're not on vacation, it's like, who are these people? They've tried to hang out before and it didn't work out because they're not in this sort of heightened atmosphere, this sort of magical atmosphere. And I think that's what these extremist groups sort of provide, a sort of heightened emotional atmosphere that people can lose themselves in and feel a sense of belonging and a feeling that there's an answer to all this. And for me, as I get older, I notice that I hate to keep beating the technology drum, but as we go along, people are becoming less and less able to deal with uncertainty, right? Because they're used to having an answer to everything right here.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I can pick this stupid thing up and ask it a question and it will answer my question.
Yes. And
not only correctly, and people believe that it's always correct. I'm like,
no. And I won't even mention like AI, Jesus fucking Christ. But like people are
conversation for a whole nother thing.
That's a whole nother thing. But people are becoming dependent on these things for their answers, for a literal physical sense of place in the world, right? I was on tour in Australia several years ago, and there was a younger band there. They were an American band. We were on this touring festival. It's kind of like an Ozfest thing called Soundwave. And I can't remember the younger band's name, but they were in their 20s, and somehow they're already touring Australia. We didn't get to do that in our 20s, but they got there, right? And they were Lamb of God fans, and I was talking to them backstage, and kind of they're like, tell us what it was like, you know. So I'm kind of holding court, being the old man and telling war stories. And I'm like, yeah, back in the day, you know, when we were touring in the van, there was no cell phones, there was no GPS, and you know, we had to go to a payphone to call and find the local kid promoter who, like, hopefully would have set the show up at the BFW hall, and we could maybe get some spaghetti for dinner. And they're like, wait, what'd you say? Yeah. And I'm like, I said, there's no cell phones, no GPS. And they stopped and they looked at me. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget the look on these kids. They're like, you didn't have a GPS? And I'm like, no. And they're like, how did you know where to go? And I was like, well, 300 years ago, we had this stuff called paper, and we made these things called maps, right? And they're like, oh yeah. I'm like, it didn't compute for them, right? That like we just kind of went out and did it without this technology. And it really made an impression on me. I think about it often. So I think that all that being to convey the point that we've become so dependent on this stuff that it's making us, I think it's making us forget our own agency, as it were.
I like to say it makes it so that you cannot think outside the box because you're trapped in it.
You are. Yes, exactly.
And the thing is, like, so to that same end, the no GPS. The first tour I ever booked was at 16 years old for an industrial band called Chainsaws and Children. They were ridiculous.
Right.
And I had a Polestar like magazine from like, I think it was 1996. And at the time that I'm booking it, it was almost 1999, 2000. So it was a little outdated.
Right.
And you had to put together the package with the CD and the promo photo and mail it. And there were specific hours that the booker was going to be there that you could call them and be like, can I send this promo package?
Yeah.
And I did it on a rotary telephone, which most kids don't even know what a landline is.
No.
And it's fine. But I'm not saying that they're wrong. It's just without having to do these things analog and think outside the box and figure out how to trick your way into something. Like nowadays it's literally like, okay, I had to call the venue, ask for the booking agent. Oh, well, they're not here right now. So then say, okay, what's their name? And like the way you had to go about almost like creatively lying to then use your brain to put two pieces together to be like, all right, this is how I've got to do this thing. And now you can just pick up another device. It's like, oh, here's all the answers.
Yeah, the human experience. You said something interesting. The human experience itself is analog.
Correct.
It is not digital. And these tools that we use to communicate, to have these conversations, to find out where we're going or whatever, they're not bad in of themselves, but they are a means to an end, which is, at least in my mind, is to facilitate the human process. It's not to facilitate a sense of digital wellness or identity. And you see the impact of it's the mental health impact it's having on young people. There's been a lot of studies on this, some pretty good science, particularly young women. The impact on their self-esteem that social media is having, like with the filters. And I'm
my
like,
former partner's child, 10 years old, is obsessed with beauty products, which is not a new thing. But now she has access to like TikTok and YouTube shorts. She's 10 years old and she wants lightening creams and all this shit that's fucking terrible for her skin.
Shouldn't you be playing with my? Shouldn't you be playing with My Little Pony or whatever they are
When I
going
met
for
her
a
at
walk?
8, before she got an iPad, when I met her at 8, she wanted Pokemon cards and physical things to play with. Now she's got an iPad, and it's that dopamine hit. It's just screwing up her fucking brain.
Right, and it's a physical thing, but it's not. The analog aspect of that exists only within the person, the single person. It's not an interaction, and it's not a good analog aspect of it. It's the record getting worn out. It's the neural synapses starting to not connect unless they're fed this stuff, which leads us to sobriety, right? Like I know that I view this stuff as addictive because it is, and it is designed to be so, in the same way that alcohol and drugs were addictive. Because I drank and did drugs for 22 fucking good years. I did it hard, right? And I put in a Olympic effort to get fucked up until it stopped. It just couldn't do it anymore, right? So that rewires your brain. It physically rewires your brain to where my synapses would not connect unless I put some drugs and alcohol in me to produce the serotonin, to get the happy juice so you could feel like a normal person. And I was so fucked up that when I first got sober, in 2010, right? I've been sober 15 years now. When I first got sober, I had what we call the pink cloud experience, where everything is fucking awesome because I didn't wake up wanting to kill myself every morning, right? I'm like, oh my God, I don't feel like killing myself. Life is fantastic. And I'm walking around looking at everything like the colors are bright. And my friends are kind of like,
new lenses.
Yeah. I'm like, it's so awesome to be sober. And my friends are like, that's great, dude. After a while, calm down. Yeah, maybe you ought to take a drink, calm down. Because I was like almost manic. And then after a few months, that wore off because that state of extreme happiness is not sustainable. And then all of a sudden, I just got immensely depressed.
Were you hit with that wave of not just realization of your last 22 years going, oh yeah, I remember some good things, but holy shit, there's all the shit that I did.
It wasn't so much an intellectual cognitive, like this is what happened and oh my God, all this stuff. So I had to, through some guidance, come to terms with a lot of that and make restitution to some people the best that I could for my actions, because being drunk is not an excuse, right?
No, exactly.
But what happened was like I intellectually knew that my life was in fact better, right? My family wasn't worried about me. My woman didn't hate me as much. I had more money, and my band was happier, and I wasn't getting, I wasn't waking up in the drunk tank. That's real nice, or in the mental hospital.
Oh man, not just a drunk tank, but like I woke up. I photographed a friend's wedding. They had an open bar. So after I was done photographing the wedding, there was an open bar, and it was on Halloween. Yeah. And it was just awful because I remember I didn't just wake up in a drunk tank. I woke up in like isolation in a chamber. I pissed myself.
Oh, like good.
I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. And like,
you got it in.
Yeah. So, I was like, wow, I'm an adult.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew intellectually that my life was better because all those things had stopped happening. And I was overcome by this immense just sadness, existential sadness, not about anything in particular. And like, I remember sitting in my backyard on the back deck and being unable to tie my shoelaces and just weeping. And I was just like, I just can't do it. I just can't tie my shoes. Just like this horrible sadness. And a friend of mine was like, look, dude, if you can avoid for 6 months getting on any psychiatric drugs, because your brain is rewiring itself.
Had
It's
to clean it all up and then reset.
it is rewiring itself, and it's hard. It's going to be hard for a psychiatrist to accurately prescribe you something in the midst of this. And so I toughed it out for 6 months, right? And at the end of 6 months, I was like, I can't take this. I remember I went to my parents, to my dad's house. I was like, you guys are going to have me put away or something. I didn't feel like homicidal or suicidal or anything. I was just approaching non-functional. And I was like, I have to see someone. So I went and saw someone, and this doctor was like, look, dude, like, you have done so much drugs and alcohol because, I mean, I hate to sound like a dick, but I partied like a rock star. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People give you fucking drugs.
The same was on tour all the time as a tour manager.
Yeah.
I had free access to
free
drugs.
Free. So,
oh God.
Yeah. And
no
so
one should have that access.
No. And so, and I had money too. So it's like, oh, I have money and no responsibility and free drugs and alcohol. This is a disaster. So he was like, you partied so hard that your brain, you may have rewired your synapses to where, this is a doctor telling me this, where you're incapable of making serotonin on your own anymore. And that is why you're so sad. It's a chemical process. He's like, what we're going to do is we're going to try an antidepressant, and you may not have to be on it forever. Your brain just might need a kickstart, like the battery might need to be charged. And I'm like, okay. So they put me on this one antidepressant, and it was called Prestique, right? It sounded like it sounds like the Louis Vuitton of antidepressants or some shit, right?
Almost like it would have like a Crystal commercial.
Right, yeah, exactly. So they put me on this shit, and like, I wasn't depressed anymore, but I constantly felt like I was right at the end of doing coke, like real speedy. Okay. And I was like, I don't like this. So then they moved me over to this stuff called Lexapro, and I stayed on that for about a year and a half, and then I weaned myself off, and it worked. That's what, 13 years ago, probably, when I got off of it. So yeah, but I had rewired my brain with these substances. I really had, and I had to fix it, and I needed a little help. And I still get sad and depressed today, but instead of like letting it overtake me, I sit, I experience it. I'm like, okay, dude, you're sad. It's okay. You don't have to kick your ass over being sad. And then I let it go through me, and I move forward. I recognize it for what it is. It's chemicals in my brain. And sometimes it's just like, oh shit, the world is on fire. This kind of can be depressing. Yeah. So all of that is to say, I view this sort of like this stuff with the social media and this technology. It is rewiring people's brain, particularly young people's brain, which are extremely plastic, and they aren't really fully set until they're, some say, 2022,
They're quite malleable, and it's definitely having an effect.
It's having an effect. It's affecting people's ability to concentrate. It affects my ability to concentrate. I can't concentrate as well as I used to. And I think that one thing, we can really do is disengage from this stuff. I'm not saying like throw your fucking phone away, but like, we need to be cognizant of what this stuff is doing to us, because it's kind of unknown. It's a new area, right?
Yep.
And humans have this tendency to embrace the new, bright and shiny without questioning it. Correct. Like, oh, look at this thing. And I feel like that's what all of this shit is, and it's designed to be that way and be addictive. So I think for me, I've taken breaks from social media, from looking at the news so much, and I've noticed that my mental health has improved. And for instance, my girl and I at the start of the year are going to be, she sent me some study she was reading about how 2 weeks without mobile computing, people's mental health and ability to concentrate and so forth improves markedly. It's proven. So for New Year's, we're going to be like 2 weeks, no using the phone for internet at all. So like if and I'm no social media at all. So if I need to look at the news, because you kind of do need to stay informed, I'm going to have to use a landline computer. I'm not going to be in line at the grocery store looking at the phone.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's this, and you see it. Like next time you go to the grocery store, just look. Just look at people in line and what they're doing.
Oh
right?
my God. Just going anywhere in public, I watch people waiting in a line, waiting. If the waiting, they can't. There's no patience. There's no focus.
There's no ability to endure boredom anymore. Which boredom is boredom gives us where the good ideas come from.
I think so. Like you know, I'm guilty of picking my phone up while driving, but it's always because I do voice memos and I say, "Hey, this thing. Hey, this thing." You know, like, and that's what I'm using it for. But it's that boredom is working my brain. I'm in the shower thinking.
Dude, it drives me crazy. Like lately, like there's a drive-through coffee spot I go to, and I'll be in the drive-through, and the car ahead of me will move forward or one ahead, and then this car will just be sitting there. And then eventually you toot the horn because they're looking at their phone.
Yeah, they're completely checked.
Yeah, like you're still driving, dude. Right?
you're stationary for this moment. Pay attention to your surroundings.
Yeah, exactly. Have some situational awareness.
I joke all the time, no one looks up anymore. And I think that we really need to like bring back those Looney Tunes cartoons because like, yo, man, there could be a piano above your head and you wouldn't have a fucking clue. You'd just be dead.
Right. and there needs to be, I think everything, all the answers, supposed answers to everything being in our hand at all times is killing our sense of the mystical, of the magic, and that we need that too. We need that as well. To notice just reality itself and how wonderful it is and wonder, how did this come to be,
I remember in my youth, I used to connect with people so deeply and intimately, even just like at a concert, like in a coffee shop, in order to connect with people, you had to have a conversation.
Right.
It wasn't this like online thing.
No.
It's so interesting now. It's like you try to connect with somebody and they just ghost you like 2 days later or something. And on top of that, I used to believe in so many more things before I became an addict and before the internet came along. And then I kind of, all I believed in was dumbing the pain, getting rid of the thought, getting rid of the feelings.
Right.
As I've in my sobriety now and we're approaching year 4, in that I have found this sense of wonder again and this sense of to me, I did a little research on you, like I'm supposed to, because we're going to do an interview. And one of the things for me was I used to think that there was just coincidence. It was all coincidence. Right. I never thought of anything higher or anything like that. And I can very firmly say I personally do not believe in God as Christian God, but I believe that I call it something different. And the universe itself seems to fucking have an idea. Things don't happen coincidentally anymore. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think they're truly meant, this is the intersections you're supposed to have. And if you're not paying attention because you're connected to this damn thing, you're going to miss those intersections.
You're going to miss it. Yeah.
And not only that, but it's telling you constantly, like there's an algorithm that's trying to feed you this bullshit. Like, oh, here's your one true person, your one true person, your feelings on how you're supposed to be, what a real man is, how this person is connected to you. But the internet is catering that to you, and it's changing its algorithm based on the time of day you look at it.
Sure.
So instead of you just looking at what's in front of you and feeling how a real person's supposed to feel, you've disconnected.
Yeah. There's another thing, even with like the connection, via the internet, like that's missing. Like Frank Zappa famously said that the problem with computers is they don't have eyebrows. Right. So
they don't. And he had some eyebrows.
Yeah, he did. A weird dude. So like there's a whole thing that is missing when you're communicating via these devices, most of the time via text, instant messenger or whatever, that like you're missing like the body language of the person. You're missing,
tone and inflection, like
everything. And all of that is so important to really have a connection, to really like understand where this other person is coming from in a sense. You just can't get it from a phone. You have to see the person, smell them, you know what I mean? Like
a watered down form of communication that doesn't allow you to have real connection.
right. And once again, I think these tools in of themselves can be beneficial, but they should serve us to get to that human connection, not as a surrogate for it.
They should be the tool, not the means to the end.
Right. And that's my my issue with the social media stuff. I struggle with it very hard because I use it to promote, my photography. I use it. I tend to do a lot of charity work, and I've really gotten good results through like my sole social media account, which is Instagram, in raising money for causes that I care about, and helping people. And that's real. But like the tool itself, I fear is corrupted and broken, right? Because it is, as you were talking about, the algorithm. I think Meta just released a little while ago a statement that said that like only 7% of what you see when you're looking at Instagram is people you follow.
Correct. I think
right?
It's so many. What is it like? Add, and then I see somebody that I might know, and then add, and then it's suggested somebody, and then add.
Right. And
all this
the
weird
stuff,
thing.
yeah, the stuff that you see for me is generally like not pleasant, not stuff I want to see, like someone getting knocked out or like a plastic surgery disaster or something fucking weird, right? And it's like I don't need any more of these traumatic events dumped in my brain. I've seen real violence in person, you know what I mean? So it's like I don't need more of that in my brain. And I feel like these tools, like it's something I really struggle with, that as I was saying, because like I have used these tools for a business purpose, because it's how I make my living. I'm somehow made it able to support myself as an artist, and I'm too old to become a lawyer or whatever now. So I'm fucked. I'm stuck here. So like I've used it as a tool for business, and also for things, just charity, to promote other artists that I like, younger artists, try and give them a leg up. It's sort of the modern day version of wearing a band t-shirt on stage, like, which I still do. But I fear that the tool is corrupted. I fear that it's corrupted to a point where it's causing more harm than it's good, and I'm wondering how I can move forward and still do these things without relying on these tools. And I don't have the answer. But I'm thinking about it.
Because I look at it the same thing from the perspective of the artist me, like as Black Lung Studios.
Yeah.
Where I'm a photographer and I do these things. Like even just this past weekend, I was like celebrating that I've edited the photos from the 5 opening bands up to Full of Hell. And I've had 72,000 views on my Instagram, and I have 2,000 followers.
Yeah.
So, that's a dopamine hit for me as an artist.
Yes.
Like, here's this like acknowledgement that I did something right, and people like it. It's like, it's hell, if Van Gogh would have had it, he might not have cut off his ear and gone fucking crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Like, who knows? But at the same time, it's a fleeting thing. So
right.
How do I keep that momentum going? What do I do next?
Right.
How do I create an environment personally where people are looking at what I do, and that acknowledgement is coming on a personal level, and they want to purchase what I'm doing. And then as an artist, I'm supporting myself. So
yeah, it's tough, man. The intersection of art and commerce has been a problem forever.
Feels like it's not way less appreciated as well. Like, it used to be that the artist was the person who was touted by royalty. Like, oh,
right.
Well, my portrait. Now a phone dumbs down even photography for us.
Yeah, this is let's not mention AI. But like this is, yeah, this is this I've thought this for a while, right? And as an artist, you'll understand this. Like what I fear with the devaluing of art that has the internet has certainly increased that. What I think, and I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not worried about myself, right? Because I already have an audience,
Correct.
right? I've already got that built-in audience, and I don't. Richmond, Virginia is not New York City, so my bills aren't that like high.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
right, I can save money, and I have been, and I'm going to be okay. I worry about the younger generation, and with the devaluation of art, what I fear is that real human art, right, created by a human, um, will become more and more rarefied and will become once again the purvey of the rich.
Yeah.
So real human art will become more valuable because making and distributing art has been democratized,
Right.
for a
I mean,
while.
everything has been capitalized to democratized and capitalized
Right.
to the point
But
where,
it's been devalued to the point where um, I think that for an artist to make a living, maybe in maybe 50 years or less, we could go back to the patronage system.
yeah,
Like during the Renaissance, like
yeah,
people. I don't think people think about, like, they look at the artworks from the Renaissance and they're like, oh, that's so beautiful, it's so great, all this great artwork was created. Not a lot of people saw that artwork.
yeah.
The rich people who commissioned that artwork saw that artwork,
Or the
right?
church.
Or the church, right? But it was for those people. It
Correct.
wasn't for everyone. We only know this in hindsight from history.
And what's kind of
And
interesting too within that realm, not to interrupt you, but
yeah,
with just those rich people seeing that art, it was catering to only them. And that's kind of
right,
what we're seeing now. It's not a social discussion like it should have been. It's
right,
not it's not engaging people's thought process of the common man. It's not reflecting the world as you say, the dumpster fire that it is right now back on itself to say, hey, this is not okay. Here's a visceral image showing you how not okay it is. Please fucking do something about it.
right,
And
exactly. And I don't know, for younger artists, I just have a lot of worry for them. I do,
it's
whether
interesting
they.
because the other gentleman that I was interviewing when you saw that, Andres, he was saying the same thing. He's like, I don't know what it looks like for them. I don't know
I
how they're
don't.
gonna, and I don't either. I don't have any answers, but I want to see some sort of progression. I mean, we're not them, right? We're all the older generation.
Yes.
We're seeing that decline. So how do we aid these younger people? And
Yes,
how
and
do
I
we
feel I feel a responsibility in that because I had um, older people guide me,
yeah, I had mentors.
right?
So
Mentors. And, one that I talk about a lot was my friend Dave Brocky, who was the singer of Guar, who
yeah,
was, a writer, a sculptor, a visual artist, and a musician.
yeah.
And
And from another planet.
he's from another planet, actually. Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
space monster from
yeah.
he and those guys. I learned so much from the Guar dudes, because we're from the same
Same
town.
area. Yeah.
And they took us under their wing and gave us our first real tour when nobody really knew who we were. And they were like, this is how you do this. And like, we learned and paid attention. And um I feel, and them and other people have been very generous with their knowledge and wisdom to me. I feel a responsibility to the younger generation if they are expressing um if they're expressing like a self-starting sort of ethos, which is what we had. We didn't wait for anyone. That's why I love coming from the punk rock scene, DIY. You know what I mean? We
I
didn't
used to
wait.
actually change it even further from DIY to DIT. And people are like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm not going to do it by myself. I'm going to do it together.
Do it
Everything I'm
together.
doing. Everything I'm doing, I'm going to teach somebody younger. And that benefited me later in life.
Right.
Because I was like, okay, I'm learning how to do this. I'm not going to sit and gatekeep that fucking information. I'm going to
Right.
show. And I still want to do that now, even more so.
Right. And, you know, the Guar guys, they watched us come up, and like, we're kind of like, they bust our balls every now and then. They weren't like, hey, let me give you the keys to the castle or whatever.
Right.
But like, when we had reached a point where they're like, okay, these guys are serious, right? They're trying to do this. They were like, okay, let's show these dudes. And that's something I feel like I have that responsibility, because it was done for me. And I want the younger generation to succeed, but I fear for them. Like you were saying, this artist, and I don't know what it looks like for them, you know? And that's why I think, for me, one of the best things I can do is be supportive of younger artists that I like, who I see, and, you know, help them in any way that I can. And I'm just waiting to see like what they're going to do, you know? I want to see what they're going to do. This is a moment in time, you know, like a great social upheaval, and great art has always come out of that.
Yeah.
It always
war in like 7 corners of the world. You have, you know, massive drug problems going on all over the place. You have just this social upheaval in a way that I don't think could have even been looked at by, you know, people during the Great Depression. Like, yeah, okay, they really had it bad. They did. But I don't think they could have even fathomed what's happening in the world now.
No, and it's interesting. In my last book, I wrote a chapter about my grandmother, who died at 100.5. I was right beside her. I was so honored to be there, you know. But I interviewed her when she was 93 or 94, I guess, about her life. And she told me she grew up in the Depression, right? And when I was a kid, if I was complaining about something, she was like, you don't know what hard times are. And I was always like, yeah, grandma, whatever, you're an old woman. Then as I got older and learned about these things, I was like, you're right. I don't know what hard times are, right? I had no clue. So, and I write all about this in my last chapter, in my last book, Just Beyond the Light, this chapter about my grandmother. But one of the most poignant things I asked her, in the interview, and I put this in the book, was I was like, what do you think is different what is the biggest difference between right now and when you were little and growing up, you know? And she, you know, she didn't say the internet or, you know,
any of the things you would have expected,
electric cars or any of this other shit. She said, I think people aren't as close as they used to be.
Correct.
She said, people don't come and just visit like they used to. And I believe that to be true. I believe that to be 100% true. She was 100 when she died, you know? And like, it's like she came like,
that's a lot of perspective.
A lot of perspective. And she was like, I don't think people are as close as they used to be. And I think that really is an indictment, not intentional on her part, on the modern state of affairs. So I think we as human beings have to become close again. We have to see the humanity each other. We have to fucking slow down and visit. And
I try to reach out to everybody more so now within this last year with my own, like I had a severe decline in mental health post sobriety. And of course, what do you want to do? You want to run back to the thing that made it numb.
Sure.
So instead, I tried to find, how do I double down on my art? How do I double down making music again? How do I create? Because creating gave me that same serotonin.
Yeah.
And then it was taking other people and saying, okay, you want to learn how to do this thing I know how to do? Let me show you.
Yeah.
How do I start building community without the intent of saying, I'm going to build a business around community. It's literally, how do I build community? I want these people in my life again. I want to talk, and I reach out to the people who I haven't heard from in forever. The amount of death and suffering that I have seen in my life, I've give up hope tattooed on my throat because I had 7 people die in 1 year from overdoses and suicides.
Yeah.
Because I realized if you sit around hoping for it to happen, it's not going to. You're going to die. So instead of hoping for it to happen, it's give up hope, do it yourself, get yourself up off your ass, start doing it.
Yeah.
And it became a call to action for people. And I still want to see that. And very much like you're saying, I want to see people get close again. And it isn't us against them. And you know what? The them is everybody, in this multimillionaire, billionaire, playboy lifestyle, controlling how the rest of us are interacting with each other, what we're allowed to do, what we're allowed to say, and how we go outside. And it's become a thing where we have to say we want to be closer to each other, no matter what those differences are, or else we're going to expire.
Yeah, we are. And, the old saying is money won't make you happy. Money doesn't bring happiness. And it's easy for me to say I agree with that because I have enough money to pay my bills.
I don't always, but it doesn't bring me any sort of happiness.
Right.
It brings me comfort, not happiness.
Right. It makes life a lot easier when you don't have to worry about where food is coming from. But I look at this situation and I see this, like as you're saying, this millionaire lifestyle, and it's pushed in the social media influencers. They're always somewhere like beautiful, like doing yoga by a waterfall in Hawaii or some bullshit, right?
With those white people problems. It's like,
like, right? Yeah. Like there's like this sort of worship of that sort of ideal, but it's not real, man. It's not fucking real. And I've said this before. What they don't show, right, is the super hot social media influencer who was doing yoga by the beautiful waterfall in her like $8 million Lululemon pants or whatever. They don't show when after she got something bad to eat, her sitting on the toilet with uncontrollable diarrhea, right? Diarrhea happens to everyone. It happens to everyone. The hottest, most handsome dude on earth, right? The next time you see this influencer and you're like, oh, I wish I had their life. Just think about diarrhea. Yeah. Right? It happens to them.
Amoebic dysentery. It'll happen.
Right. And it's like there's this worship of this money and stuff. And that can't be what you really want out of life. Like you can't just like, because you're gonna die one day and your money is gonna be useless. In the meantime, I really think human connection and science and history has shown us this is what brings happiness. And I think right now, because things are fucked up, particularly with our government here in America, I think we really need to start forming like some more mutual aid sort of societies, like where people are like, okay, we're going to come together and help each other. And because whoever's fucked at this time, okay, we'll go help them, because you never know when you're going to need help, dude. I
mean, I'm looking at the situation and I think about that old proverb, and it's, when they came for the Jews, I sat there because I wasn't Jewish. And when they came for the Romanians, I sat there because I wasn't Romanian.
Yeah.
When it came for me, there was no one left to help.
There's no one left to help me.
We're living that. We're living that very much so right now in a way that is, we have to look at it and say, how do we help each other? Because no one's going to come save us.
No one's coming.
To us.
No one's coming to save us, dude. And that has never been more evident. I mean, not to bang the political drum, but like we have pretty much the most corrupt administration in the history of the United States going on. And it's open.
It literally is just a corporation now that is
open.
Designed to be a death machine coming after everybody.
Yeah. And if you want to, be okay, you see these billionaires coming to the president with these trophies that they make,
Yeah.
right, to give him. And there's like these weird humiliation exercises, like you're the best dude ever, and it's like, it's okay, you're okay now. Your company's going to be okay. I'm gonna give you a tax break or whatever. The wealth, the income gap, the wealth disparity is growing and growing and growing. You know,
and then, you know what? All I want to feed is my soul at this point, because I realize that's the only thing connected to me forever.
Yeah.
So how do I do that? And how do I extrapolate myself from this equation they want me to be a part of?
Yeah.
And how do we all do that? You know, it's how do we have these conversations to make that be the reality?
Yeah, we have to connect and help people. And that being said, you know, you have to help yourself too. You have to make sure you're okay. That goes back to the mental health bit. Like, you know, on the airplane, they're like, if the airplane's going down, you got to put on your oxygen mask before assisting anyone else, because you can't help anyone if you can't breathe.
Yep.
So, I mean, the whole self-care term gets kind of like fucking annoying to me, right? But
so
yeah, in a sense, it's essential. You know, like you have to take care of yourself, and I think it for me that involves like not accepting that everything is fucked. You know, completely fucked. That there can be some sort of better side to all of this, and you know, or also there's like the fact that, you know, sometimes I get real cosmic with it. You know, and in approximately every billion years, the sun, you know, is getting 10% brighter. So like the sun is a star, and eventually it's going to go supernova and explode, and then Earth will be gone. But that's like in, I think, 7 billion years. But in 1 billion years from now, the sun will have gotten hot enough so that the Earth's oceans will boil and life will no longer be sustainable here. So either we'll have figured it out and gotten to another planet by then, or we're all going to die, in which case none of it matters. So
my favorite is explaining that we're in the center of a supermassive black hole, and it'll just suck us in too. So either way, like the universe has got its plan. We're not part of it.
No, but we are. We are part of it. We are a part of it. And like, you know, I believe in the scientific theory that, you know, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It only changed shape. So like, you know, I love music. Music is eternal, because music is comprised of sound waves, which are literally,
they can come back.
Yeah, it's a form of energy. So every song I've ever written is traveling through the cosmos for eternity, you know, and I didn't even really write it. I just helped it take shape from what was already there. And I think that's the same thing with all beings and all things, you know.
I like to think that somebody in like Ganymede, Alpha Centauri someday is going to hear, you know, Lamb of God's first album. And
I hope so.
They'll be like, this was amazing.
They'll be like, this was great. And then when they get to like the, you know, the 7th one, they'll be like, oh, we like the first record better. I like their demo better.
You're really like just fascist about it. Like over.
Yeah, really.
Oh, you know, the new band is good, but your old band, no, it's done.
No, the old band is much better.
It's so funny.
Yeah, no, man.
With our time constraints, we should probably start winding down here.
Yeah, man. Anything else you want to discuss?
Nothing drastically amazing. Just, you know, I didn't. So here's a completely personal, random piece that I just wanted to say, and probably end up cutting it out of this recording. But I love the fact that you. So I always made comparisons to. I heard A Life Once Lost first.
Sure.
And I'm really good friends with, you know, our dearly departed. He's not departed, but he's no longer singing anymore. Singer. And the thing is like, I always made a comparison that he sounded a lot like you, but I heard them first. And I was like, and then I heard that you had actually had a lot of hand in helping them with records. And I was like, oh, no shit, no wonder. Yeah. So there was just like that. That's like a little thank you for helping create some of the most influential music in my life, indirectly and directly. So between them and yourselves, because I just
Bob used to book us at this place in Pennsylvania called Palenka Park at the Polish War Veterans Hall.
I used
We
to
call
go
it
there all the time and photograph him when I lived in Pennsylvania.
we call it in Lamb of God, we call it the Podunka Village. We're like,
Oh,
do you remember the Podunka Village shows? But no, Bob used to book us. He's a good dude. I helped produce some vocals for him.
that was
And
back when he and Mike Wahlberg did their things together, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a good time, man.
Yeah.
But
That's it.
yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, man, to wind it down, I just think people like put the phone down, go talk to someone.
Right?
Talk
Have
to
an
your
interaction.
neighbor. Talk to your neighbor. How many of us know our neighbor? Say hello.
It's
Offer to
funny.
help an old person carry their groceries. It feels
I only
good.
know one of my 4 neighbors. And
Mhm.
so in the summer, because Vermont's winters are not the time to go introduce yourself, but negative 20 degrees out, you don't want to stand out there knocking on
Yeah.
the door. What the hell do you want?
Yeah.
But,
Shovel my driveway.
yeah, right. Let's do that. But yeah, it's definitely, we got to do that more as a community, as a human race. Just start acknowledging we're all part of the same race. We're human.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, at least for me, expecting it out of the mass populace,
Yeah,
like, is too much. But I do come from a subculture, and I think there's value in that. We don't have to wait for the greater culture to do the right thing. We can start building these things ourselves within our own little worlds, and
absolutely.
we
Absolutely.
got to take care of ourselves.
It's true. All right. That's a wonderful way to end that, actually. We're going to end on that one because it's true.
Cool.
One thing before I hit the end on it is let this thing sit if you can, because it's going to
For it to upload.
Yep.
Yeah. I know the deal.
Because I learned that from the last one I did where it said it was 99%. And I was like, son of a bitch. So I had to resend him for that 1% at the end, but that's all.
No, I'll let it do its thing.
I super appreciate you coming on here, Randy, and talking with me.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Like, who else have you had on the podcast so far?
So far, Andres Cortez, photographer out of Brooklyn. I've also had another photographer out of Boston, Matt Darcy he goes by Banana Smasher. It's a great freaking name. And then I've got upcoming ones with Scott Kincaid out of Philadelphia. He was actually my mentor for a long time as a photographer. Mm-hmm. And then Mike Hill from Tombs will be on. I'm going to go on his podcast actually to promote this one. And then he'll be on mine to come on and have the conversation. And then it looks like possibly Jake Bannon is going to be on mine too. So he's interested in having a convo. So yeah, I'm just kind of going through people I know, other artists. And then, there's like a wish list of other people that I know that I'm like, hey, would you like to do this? And nobody's really fully committed yet. I think they want to see it go for a bit and like be a thing.
Right.
So
you're going to put it up on the YouTubes and the Spotifys and the Apples and all that stuff.
YouTube for at least the video portion, and the rest of it, like the audio, is going to be across all the other platforms.
Yeah. That's cool.
Because you can just do like one, like a podcastle, and it automatically goes to every platform, and you don't have to, which is nice because then I don't have to sit there and upload it over and over again. It just does it to itself.
Right.
Yeah, that's the intent.
Cool.
That way, no matter what you're looking for it on, you can find it. So
right on.
And as far as this one is concerned, it'll probably premiere towards the end of January. So it'll be after you're done with your social media sabbatical.
Cool.
Excellent. Yeah.
All right.
But thank you so much again.
Thank you. It's nice talking to you. Hang in there, dude.
I shall. You as well. And I'll be in touch in other random ways and some thing. So have a good one.
Cool. You too, bro. Peace.
Bye. End recording.